And we are live.
Yes. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Darren Blue.
I'm Kevin Blue.
We are the Blues Brothers, and this is the amazing Musicians Hall of Famer, four-time Grammy winner, Steve Wariner. Welcome.
Man, thank you guys. Thanks for the words. What an intro. This sounds good. I don't hear that.
Hey, we could keep going. The list is pretty long.
Well, don't believe all that stuff you read, I'll tell you. Great to be
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, man, my pleasure. Thank you. What a crazy world we have to do it this way, but I'm glad to be with you guys. And you guys do a great job. I watched some of your stuff, your prior shows, and you do great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate that, and we're excited to share some of your gifts with the fans tonight. And you're joining us from Franklin, Tennessee. Is that right?
Yeah, we're in Franklin officially. We're my place is kind of sandwiched out in the country between Nolensville and Brentwood. Or Franklin, I should say. We're kind of out in the country, or used to be. We've been here 30 years. we really be in the country.
Yeah, it's getting more populated and busier around you, huh?
Yep. But
nice. What's something you love about living out in the country out there?
Well, I tell you, one thing is beautiful. My son Ross lives in New York City, and the other night we were FaceTiming, and I walked outside just at dusk, and he said, "Dad, show me the sky." And I raised my phone up, and he said, "Oh my God, we have the most wide open, beautiful night skies here that are
nice.
Awesome. The way it is, I don't know, I can't explain it, but you can really see some big sky here at night, and it's real dark, and you can see a lot of stars." And he was, I think, living in Brooklyn, he was missing that, being home, and he's quarantined up there by himself, he and his cat Albie. So they're quarantined in Brooklyn there. So, but yeah, I love it out here. I love the country. It's where we know the neighbors and we know our friends out this way, and it's pretty cool.
Nice.
You guys
seen?
huh?
Go ahead.
San Diego, huh? Do you guys?
Yeah. We just moved out here not long ago from San Diego out to Ashland City, Tennessee, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I love it out that way. My brother lives not too awful far on Ashland City Highway. Lives out past out that way, so I know that area. And Ashland City is really cool.
It is. We're getting spring right now, and it's absolutely amazing. Being from San Diego area, we don't really get a change in the season.
Well, you know what? That's hard for people to grasp, but that's true. I'm from Indiana originally, so the seasonal changes, I really like it. I love the fall. In Indiana, where I was from in Indiana, it was just gorgeous in the fall, turning all the colors in the trees. So I love seasons. I know what you mean.
Yeah, we caught the tail end of fall when we moved out here in September, and it was pretty gorgeous.
Yeah, nice, man. Very cool.
So what music projects do you have going on right now, or that you had planned with, before everything going on in quarantine here?
Well, I'm always working on 4 or 5 projects at once, and I'm not really working on a lot of my music right now, but I am in a sense, because I'm writing with a lot of folks. I've been writing and collaborating with my buddy Clint Black. I've written.
Okay.
I have a couple songs. He has a new album that he's wrapping up. He's actually doing a video right now. Don't ask me how, but he's doing it himself, and he's working on it. He's a workaholic. But we wrote a new song, the title track, that's really cool, and I have a couple other songs on there, and working with the group from the 60s, 70s, the Rascals. Felix Cavallari lives here in Franklin. He is incredible, and I got to know him pretty well this past year. I knew he lived here. They have so many classic rock and roll hits, and his voice is still amazing. We wrote a couple songs. He and their producer Mike Sievers. We wrote a couple songs that are going to be on his new album, and he's working on that. We were right in the middle of it, hard at it when all this hit, So I think they're in the process now of mixing and trying to do background vocals. But I'm working on that, and gosh, what else? I got 3 or 4 things I'm always working on. What'd you? My wife's feeding me. Hey, you know, one thing that one thing that she reminded me was, and I don't know why I didn't think of it myself, but this has been a great time for me for 2 things that I do. I've been selfishly taking a lot of time to write a lot of songs, change a lot of strings on a lot of guitars, and I've been writing a lot of songs. Clint Black and I wrote the other day. We set up our laptops and did a FaceTime thing and wrote a cool song a couple days ago. And I wrote with Buddy Cannon via, well, he emailed me some lyrics and we worked that way. But I'm a painter too. I paint and I draw. I have a little art studio here. When you guys come out, I'll show you my digs. You know, I turned our little pool house into my art studio, and I've been painting and kind of studying art a little bit. There for about the first week or so, I would get up and turn the TV on and take some, really go to school studying some artists that I've been wanting to study their type of art and their meaning.
Nice.
And so I've actually got a couple paintings going that I'm just thrilled. I can't wait to get back to it. So I've been spending a lot of time with music and art on these downtimes. And
that's awesome. What's your go-to medium?
Well, I think what my fastball and what I'm best at is watercolors and pen and ink watercolors. I do a combination of both. I have a little style thing that I do. I got one back there. I should have grabbed it to show you guys. But what's nice about during this downtime, I've always been wanting to study something that gets me out of my comfort zone, which is there's an artist that I've been watching. I love her work, and I was watching and studying the style of abstract paint. And a lot of people think it's just slapping and throwing paint up against the wall.
Right.
Not. It's a lot of composition and a lot of color mixing and so forth. And but I've been really studying that and the theory of a lot of abstract painting. And I like the real tight watercolor realism and tight that style. And this is like totally the opposite. It gets me way out of my.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to it, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you feel like your painting style translates to your songwriting and production style?
I'm gonna tell you, man, that is a great question. And it's amazing that there's so many parallels. It's so many, and if you notice, so many musicians are artists. You know, they are painters.
Yeah.
Eric Clapton went to art school. You know, I can name you 30 music artists that are artists. You know, and they're all it's that right brain thing, I think. You know, but I noticed, you know, with paintings, you know, it's when to let go. You know, when to let go of sometimes I'll have a painting, I'll just stand and look at it and go, I want to keep going. I want to do more. And I do that with records. I do that. You know, I hear records that I had hits. I had hit records that I still hear and go, I wish I could sing that one more time, you know. Still want to do that solo, you know. And it was 20 years ago. I still want to, I'm not finished. And I think
well, I know you're meticulous with your instruments as you are with your art. What kind of what do we have as far as your setup here that you've prepared here today for your guitar?
Well, this guitar is a Martin. It's called a Quad 21. It's a George Gruen edition that he did. It was not many of them. It's made out of grandfather in wood, and it's a really beautiful guitar. I've had it probably 6 or 8 years, 5 or 6 years maybe. But it's Madagascar rosewood, and the top is Adirondack.
Beautiful.
And it's one of my favorites that I go to a lot. I've got some old Martins and some other guitars too. I have some old Gibsons, and I have my own model Takamine too. I play a lot on the road. My signature Steve Wariner Takamine secret weapon that I take on the road. But this is a nice guitar. I really like the size of it, and it's old wood, but it's a new guitar. It's grandfathered in old wood and Madagascar rosewood. So, but I've got, you know, when you guys come out, I'll show you. You're stepping over guitars around here.
Stepping on them like they're Lego pieces.
Exactly. my wife's a wonderful lady. You guys kind of met her earlier, but she allows me to support my music and painting and being creative. She's
Nice.
a quilt maker, so we both have this creative thing going on. So we're out here on the farm just being creative, you know, and trying to reach out to our
Good
friends
time to be.
and help people too as much as we can, and checking on all of our friends. And gosh, there's not a whole lot you can do, but we've been doing a lot of that last few days. We have a daughter in San Francisco and a son in New York, and our other son Ryan is here in Inglewood in Nashville, so East Nashville. So we're kind of spread around, you know.
Yeah, that's all over.
Yeah, a lot of worrying go around there.
Sure.
Definitely.
Sure. Well, music is healing, and music is one of the things that just, you know, we resonate so much with, and its ability to heal and bring people together and give them hope and inspire them.
Well
Um,
said.
Yeah. What
It
do
is
you
healing.
think you want to start us off with here
Oh
today?
gosh, I don't know. I don't know. I've been thinking about it, and I keep going back and forth, you
You
know.
want us to take a request, or do you have something in mind?
Why don't I do? I got my capo at 4 here, so I could be one of about 6 songs if it's at 4. So
Okay.
what if I do? I wrote this one. I wrote this song. I was touring with Reba McEntire years ago, and we it's funny on this song. I wrote it by myself. We were on tour all across. We did coast to coast Canada, and then the end of the year. We came back to the southeast U.S. part of the U.S. And that year, Reba and I became really close friends. That year, we toured together. But I remember coming off the bus one night and wrote this song in about 15 minutes. And I always know that because the setup for her show took about 15, maybe a little more minutes. And by the time she started, I was finished with it. So I wrote this song in 15 minutes. But sometimes they're like paintings, they come out that way. You know, they come out quickly.
Right.
Other times, like Holes in the Floor of Heaven, not so much. It took 2 or 3 different writing sessions with
Wow.
the first 2 or 3 days to write that song. But anyway, this song is called "Where Did I Go Wrong?"
Awesome.
I wish my friend Mark O'Connor was here to play some incredible fiddle like he did, but he's not. So.
One day.
When you told me that you loved me, I believed every single word you said. You showed me that you didn't mean it, that you loved somebody else instead. I know you've got a right to find someone new. I've got a right to feel this way too. Where did I go wrong? Where did he go right? I know I'd won the battle if I'd known there was a fight. I can't stand the thought of never holding you tight. Where did I go wrong? He go right. There was something all around us like I'd never felt before. I guess I should have seen the warning. I was busy coming back from home. I know you've got a right to change your mind. I've got a right to be loose in mind. Where did I go wrong? Where did he go right? I know I'd won the battle if I'd known there was a fight. I can't stand the thought never holding you tight. ever holding you tight. Where did I go wrong? Did he go right? Tell me, where did I go wrong? Where did he go right? Tell me, where did I go wrong? Where did he go right? Oh, there you are.
All
There
right.
you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was awesome.
Thank you. I remember cutting that song.
15 minutes, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And Tony
And
Brown.
that's why I'll
I remember
never
playing
be a
it for Jimmy
musician.
Bowen. I know that's crazy. I don't, you know, Dave Loggins told me once, songwriter Dave Loggins, he said, this is not a race. You're not racing to write a song. It takes how long it takes, you know. And I remember playing that song. I went into Tony Brown and Jimmy Bowen. I played that for them, and they both, I thought, well, they'll want to change. Maybe once something changed, I wrote it so quickly, but they go, nope. And it was a #1 record, you know. So it was, man, I'll take it all day, you know. So grateful. It was on MCA, back in my MCA days, you know.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
Well, what else have you been up to lately? What else are you doing these days?
Well, painting is the main thing, I guess. I mean, we talked about that earlier, but
Yeah.
between the two, I'm either in this building or I go to the other one. I'm back and forth. If you see me out here out in our part of the Franklin, you see me kind of going back and forth. So, but staying busy, you know, with the songs and
What are some of the songs you've written in that studio specifically?
oh gosh, I've got this building here is probably about what's Karen 17, yeah, about 15, 17 years old. So most of my early stuff was not written here; it was written in the house right there, but across the drive. But let's see, I've written a bunch out here. I can't even tell you. I've written a ton of stuff out here and had a lot of people. You know, used to hang out here a lot. Some cool people. Jerry Reed used to hang out here a lot. He did his last 2 albums up here. Gordon Kennedy produced, and I helped him out. We cut here, and we did. What's that album he called? What's the name of that last album he did? I can't remember. Mine's gone. But anyway, he did his last 2 projects, and he would come here. There's an elevator in that room. There's an elevator in the corner that you can get equipment up because I'm on the 2nd floor. And so Jerry would always go straight to the elevator, and he would say, "I'm going in the Jerry Reed elevator. You guys can go up the stairs," you know. So, and so I got a big sign in there that says the Jerry Reed elevator. He was so
nice.
He was my buddy, and I miss him a lot. And he was just incredible guitar player and songwriter, you know. But some of the songs I wrote up here were I wrote "Long Neck Bottle" for Garth Brooks. I wrote that. I wrote it with Rick Carnes. We wrote that up here.
I heard you and Garth are pretty good buddies, and actually he's the one who inducted you into the Musicians Hall of Fame.
That is correct. And I called him. You know, he's busy being Garth, you know, and so I thought, you know, he's going to be busy. I'll put the call in. I'll just, you know, see if he'll answer. Probably off somewhere doing something. And I called him, and he was so kind. He picked right up and said, "Yeah, pal, I'll do it. Just let me know when it is," which really knocked me out. It was so nice of him to do it. And then I said, "Well, would you want to do Long Neck Bottle with me?" And he goes, "So we did Long Neck Bottle, and Paul Schaefer from the Tonight Show, he joined us on the B3, and we played, and we threw him a solo at the end, Paul Schaefer, and it was just a great moment. And
That's killer.
Be in that Hall of Fame. That Hall of Fame means a lot. It's about the musicianship and the players. A lot of people that don't get a ton of credit, you know, they're the behind the scenes kind of people for the most part. You know, a lot of the session players, a lot of guys make the records magic happen on the records, but don't get a lot of credit, you know. And so Joe Chambers down there, I think they do a great job, the Musicians Hall of Fame. And I'm thrilled to be in there my stuff alongside Jimi Hendrix and the Rolling Stones. Yada yada.
It's pretty special.
It's
Pretty
not
good company.
Yeah.
all kinds of music.
I got an interesting question for you. I mean,
Yep.
you've got Grammy Awards, CMA Awards, ACMs. You're a member of the Grand Ole Opry. You've been inducted in the Musicians Hall of Fame. Are there moments, or is there an award that people might not see that was super meaningful to you on your journey?
No question about it. I don't even remember the year, Karen. You could probably tell me, but it was the Minnie Pearl Humanitarian Award I won one year, and it was for a lot of work we do. And with that time, we were doing tons of work. My wife, I have to say, she did more work than I did. She really deserved it more, but they gave me the Minnie Pearl Humanitarian Award, and she was a dear friend. And when she passed, I became a member like 3 days after she passed, and I did her favorite song on my induction night. And Bill Anderson, my buddy Bill, but that award meant a lot. We did a lot of work back then. We still do, but way a lot back then for the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation. Our daughter is has been type 1 diabetic since 8 years old, and that's a challenge that unless you know that world, it's a whole nother thing. And we used to do a lot of stuff with the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation with Mary Tyler Moore, and we used to go to Washington a lot and do stuff that they called it the Children's Congress, and it was really amazing experiences going there.
You're also doing great stuff with the Grammys and Music Cares right now, right?
Boy, I tell you, Music Cares, they're a wonderful organization. The Opry Trust Fund is great. We love that kind of stuff. Music Cares helps a lot of players and musicians, that are certainly struggling right now for sure. And also St. Jude, we do a ton of stuff for St. Jude and Second Harvest Food Banks. So, and I really tip my hat to Brad Paisley and Kim for their country store that they opened. It's so great, and helping to feed people, and Brad's a buddy, and we go back a long, long way. That's another story for another day.
We could probably chat all night, but
we will.
I feel like we could. Well, that's amazing, and we do normally have a virtual tip jar set up, but we spoke with you before going live tonight, and you had requested that we put the Music Cares link in there. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, it's just helps players and musicians, and I love that. The tip jars are a great idea, man. That's great. But
awesome.
A lot of people are hurting and struggling. I'm going to tip my hat also, although I don't wear a hat much, but I'm tipping my hat to all the responders, all the healthcare folks that are just doing an unbelievable, heroic job. I mean, can you imagine?
I'll tip mine for you there.
Boy, thank you guys. They're going right in there where everybody else is going the other way, aren't they? I mean, the doctors, nurses, the first responders, all those folks are unbelievable.
Cheers to them out there. It's actually a great time for me to reload here.
Cheers to that.
But thank you. Flatten the curve. Everybody stay home, man. So flatten the curve. Well, I see we're on.
Man.
Well, I got another interesting question. So if somebody, you've had an amazing career and obviously you're still charging it and crushing it every day. If somebody that just moved to Nashville yesterday, if they did, in theory, what advice would you have for them if they're an aspiring songwriter?
Well, I think it was some advice that Chet Atkins gave me a long time ago. I think it was so wise. He was just an incredible guy and a great, great mentor for me. But he told me once years ago, he said, because a lot of people early on, I would try to emulate Glenn Campbell and some of my heroes. I try to be like those guys. And he told me early on, he says, there's already a Chet Atkins, there's already a Glenn Campbell. You got to find your way and be you and find your own path, and don't try to be anyone else but yourself, and be true to yourself. And then we had out a couple of records that he produced, and they really didn't. My joke is they started out in sales slow and then tapered off. But anyway, we didn't do a couple records. But Chad always said, you know, he goes, hey, he saw I was frustrated, but he said it happens differently for everybody. He said,
For everybody.
all you do is you put your nose to the grindstone and you work hard and fight and don't
You
ever
believe.
you're going to make it. You know, if
Yep.
you're going to make it if you fight hard enough and you work at it. Just be patient because it doesn't happen the same for everybody, you know. Which is
Right.
good advice.
Do you feel like you evolved early on? And
Yeah, I
like,
think being around some of the people that I was around, you know, I started out playing with the late great Dottie West. I played with her for 3 years, and I learned a ton from her. I spent about a year and a half touring with a gentleman named Bob Luman, who Luman. He was incredible entertainer and just a showman deluxe. I mean, I learned so much being around him, and then I took all those lessons, and then working with Chet Atkins, of course. I stole Chet blind. I mean, everything he did, I was trying to learn it, and he
I've never
liked
heard that figure of speech
and
before.
he would show it to me. He loved it. He loved it, and he would, and I would play a lick, and he'd say, "Oh no, you're working yourself to death. Let me show you how to do that." You know. Anyway, he was just such a pal. But I think you take all those lessons, you know, you take from here a little from there, and you put it all together, and you become you know, and then my songwriting, you know, when I first started having hits, I was only writing for me selfishly. You know, I didn't think anyone else would even be interested. I would write songs, and we were lucky that we got on a roll. I started having number ones and having hits that I wrote. And then one day my wife said, you know, why don't you pitch some of these songs to other folks and see what the response would be? Well, I go, yeah, whatever. Nobody's tailor made for me, you know. So I started pitching them. Our publisher at the time, who administrated our company, they started pitching some of my songs, and man, I started getting cuts. So I started developing my writing more, and I started getting outside cuts. And I mean, I've been lucky. I'll say this, it sounds like I'm dropping names, but I've been lucky to have cuts, you know, through the years by Kenny Rogers and Alabama and Garth and Keith Urban, Clett Black and Don Williams, the Statler brothers, on and on. So I attribute that to, number one, my wife pushing on there, but also believing in yourself. And I tell young writers is, you know, the sky is the limit. You just don't always, you know, set the bar high and shoot for it, you know, because it can happen. If it can happen for me, it can happen for you guys or anyone.
Which cut really for yourself made you feel like absolutely like I got this now and like just confident that, you know, you knew you're going to be able to produce cuts for a lifetime?
Well, I wrote a song called You Can Dream of Me, and I think it was about 1987, I think. I wrote it with John Hall from the group Orleans. Remember that song, Still the One Who Can Scratch My Itch? You know, but anyway, we wrote that song and we put it out. The label, I was just thrilled. The MCA, they wanted to put it out as a single. I was going like, oh my gosh, I got my first single as a writer, and it came out and which went boom right to number one. And so I was like, oh my gosh, my first number one as a writer. And then, you know, I started pitching to other artists too, and then like a dominoes, you know,
one started compounding, snowball.
Like, oh my gosh, will forever be grateful to all the artists that cut my songs, you know, and so I'm really grateful, and I want to be looked at as a songwriter, but I have this identity problem, guys, and I don't know, maybe you can help me, but a lot of people I'm a guitar player, but then I go, well, I'm a songwriter, and then no, I'm a guitar player, no, I'm a whatever. You know, so I like doing it all, and so sometimes I feel like I might get overlooked as a writer, but anyway, you know, that's kind of my opening up, revealing.
That's a good identity crisis to have.
That's a good problem. We call that a good problem to have, for sure. For sure. Well, we're approaching about 30 minutes here, in which we should probably venture over to Instagram soon. But what do you want to close us out with? What do you have in mind for our Facebook closeout here?
Well, I'll do a little tune. And I might remind everybody too, if you guys don't mind at all,
Not at all.
tomorrow night at 7 Central, Facebook, my official Facebook page.
Yep.
Last 2 weeks, we've done a Wednesday, we call it, and we go for about an hour and I play songs and tell some stories. And it's really been, it's a lot of folks are saying, oh my gosh, it's been so helpful for us. What you guys do is so helpful and therapeutic to so many people. I know it is. And a lot of people are saying that to me, but I say, no, it is for me. It's very, very helpful and stuff for me. So it goes both ways. But
Absolutely.
I thought I might do a little
Awesome. Yeah. And then you got a couple episodes up there on WarnerWednesday.com already as well, I noticed.
They are already up there. You go back and hear me clearing my throat and all that good stuff, you know. Yeah. But I might do a little piece of a song John Scott Sherrill wrote for me. It's called Some Fools Never Learn. It was a hit for me in the late 80s. And I just love this song. So maybe I can do a piece of that for you guys.
Awesome.
Take it away.
All my friends say I should leave you alone. You've got a heart like a stone and a wandering eye. And I know that they're right. I can make up my mind not to see you again, but you move through my dreams like the wind. It's no good to pretend it won't happen again, 'cause it'll happen again. Some fools never learn. You play with the fire and you're gonna get burned. It's only love when you're loved in return. Some fools never learn. Some fools never learn. 'Cause maybe I tried, but I'm just not that strong. Yes, I knew all along, but that's not enough. I was falling in love, and you don't know it, but I came over tonight. There was somebody's car parked outside. Damn my eyes, damn this heart of mine. I drove off into the night. Some fools never learn. Baby, the fire and you're gonna get burned. It's only love when you're loved in return. Some fools never learn. Some fools never learn. Some fools never learn. I always wondered how they did that. My brother could do that.
Yeah, I can't do that. I don't think
it's the double biscuit either.
I think it's frowned upon these days.
Yeah, you're not supposed to play.
Yeah, we better keep our hands away from our mouths, right?
Well, that was beautiful. We had some amazing comments and all kinds of likes and hearts popping up on the screen here. I know you can't see those from your end, but Peggy Hallbrook over here said she wore out that cassette tape. So many memories.
Cassette tape. That's key words, right? Thank you so much for that. That's I love that song. That's one I wish I'd written. John Scott Sherrill wrote that, and as I said, and boy, that's a goodie, and resonated with a lot of folks back in the day, I believe, and I'm very grateful.
No, it was beautiful. It was very beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Glad to be with you guys tonight. This is fun.
Well, should we do an encore over on the Instagram?
Let's go to Instagram and do an encore, huh?
Okay.
I'll do some.
So where can people find you on Instagram?
Where can they find me on Instagram?
At
It's
Steve
just my
Wariner.
page. Yeah, I mean, I'm on Instagram.
It's just no, it's just your regular name on there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
So make sure you check the
there's 3 or 4
spelling down there.
Sorry. I see that the sport music cares. I see that scrolling, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
funny that, and I always preach this to everyone. I'm on Instagram probably more than anything personally, but I
Okay.
I always tell everybody watch for the blue check because there's a lot
Yeah.
of Steve Wariner 1, 2, 3s or whatever. There's several, but it's the official. It's the one just Steve Wariner that with the blue check, you know. So
Okay.
I guess check mark. Or
But that's a hot tip for anybody out there. He's active on Instagram and checking that regularly. So if you
I'm
like and comment over there, he's gonna
It's
see
my
it.
pals. I watch you, man. Not a stalker, but I get on there and check it out. A lot of guys playing guitar, a lot of musicians on there, a lot of old friends too. I love catching up
Nice.
with what everybody's doing, you know. So cool.
Good deal.
Awesome. Well, that was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed the chat, and let's continue it over on Instagram.
All right, Kevin and Darren. Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you everyone
All right.
for tuning in. Hope to see you on the gram.
You
See you
got it.
guys.
See ya.